The age of social media, all it takes nowadays to spark up an online fight is to merely have an opinion. One opinion will cause many to spiral into a pit hole of anger where no one dialogues, only insults the person who has the unpopular or even the popular opinion regarding the latest trends in comic books, movies, or pulp culture. It makes sense given the circumstance. After all, acting tough behind the protective wall of the black mirror we all own and use on a daily basis makes it easy for anyone to jump right into a tirade of insults and threats. Again, just for having an opinion that they may disagree with. I decided to go against that notion. I've decided to start a video series where we discuss the hot topic issues within the comic book industry and pulp culture and provide you with another perspective. One of logic, reason, with just plain old dialogue between two people who have different opinions. My co-host and I will discuss the pulp culture topics at hand in a fun, engaging, and respectable manner. So, without further ado, let's talk about it. Hello. Welcome back to another edition of Let's Talk About It. I'm your host, Julius Freeman, and with me is
Kyle.
I hope everyone out there had a good week. Busy week for us over here. A lot's happened since the last week. But before we talk about the topic at hand, I know Kyle wanted to elaborate more on what his experience at the Dallas Expo. There's a lot of stuff he wanted to share with you guys, so I'm gonna give him the floor. Kyle.
Okay, well, yeah, we didn't get a chance to talk about it, but as always, though, you miss this normal stuff, man. You know what I pick up this week.
My bad.
We do.
My bad. I just thought I thought you wanted to get right to it.
Nah, no, but we have a routine. We got to do the routine, man.
You're right. I'm sorry. Well, what did you pick up this week? How about that?
So I didn't pick up anything. I'm just kidding. But no, I picked up a few things. My local comic shop owner, my family was in town, and so as my littlest nephew, he was a huge Star Wars fan, and so we went over to my local comic book shop and picked out some cool Star Wars books. And then when I was looking through, I'm like, hey, that one's pretty cool. Let's take a look in there. And I've always preferred the Dark Horse comics more than the original Marvel run. But so I was looking through those sections and I found some pretty cool ones. I found some old Knights of the Old Republic books.
Oh, nice.
Oops. So there's that one, which is pretty cool. And then some ones these are the ones that go into like the Mandalorian versus Jedi wars and stuff.
Oh, cool.
And then in there also, the shop owner had no idea, I didn't even know, but was this issue. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. Maybe that one's important or something like that. And then we come to look it up and it's like a $200 book because rated 9.8 because it's the first appearance of Darth Malgus, which is a very very big character, Sith Lord in the Knights of the Old Republic video game. And so this is his first appearance in comic books. I see. So when we looked it up, he's all like, whoa. He's like, what? This one's a biggie. And so I ended up picking this. Yeah. No, not that.
Do you recognize that word, Kyle?
No, but I can make inferences and figure out what it means.
So I'm sorry, Kyle. Go ahead.
But I picked it up for $30. So
nice. It's like, okay.
Perfect 9.8. And apparently also we were looking research into this. So you know how older books, they have like Mark Jewelers variants where there was like an advertisement that was put into comic books for Mark Jewelers that was only limited to like certain regions and stuff like that.
Okay.
Well, I guess they did that similar thing in the 2000s, which when this book was published, and this book has one of those variant versions where it has like an advertisement of some other company on the inside of here. And guess what? This one has it.
Ah, nice, dude.
So
Nice. What a get.
I know. So I was pretty excited about that. And then I just got a couple more, one shot books of Yoda and some of the other Jedi.
Cool.
And Mace Windu. So yeah, it was a lot of cool stuff that he had. And he says that he says he's got boxes more of them. He has no idea what he's got. He just kind of like digs them out from his storage unit. So you never know what you'll find.
Never when it comes to hold on, give me a second here. My camera is being blocked here for I don't know why. It's not staying in place. There we go. Yeah, you're right. You never know. You never know with retailers who just have boxes and boxes of stuff. I mean, that's I can imagine it's very exciting, but at the same time very stressful considering the fact the space is limited, and so you just buy wholesale. You just like, oh, I'm selling this collection here. I got 7 boxes for this much money. You want to take it? Oh, okay. Let me look through real quick, and then you just kind of skim through, and you see if you see more good stuff, then you just all right, here you go. Here's the money, and I would imagine you just put it back there, and you just I'll get to it when I get to it, and you don't know what. That's cool. That's cool that you got those gems.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to seeing also what else he's got hidden away back there.
That's one of the greatest things about our thing, our comic book culture, I guess, if you want to call it that, is that it's almost like a record collector's thing, where you go to a trade show or pop up and you look through these records and you find one like, oh wow, I've been looking for this one. It's kind of the same thing with comics. You look through those back bins, $1 back bins, $2 back bins, whatever. And sometimes you find stuff that you're like, oh, dude, I remember this when I was a kid, and you buy it because there's some nostalgic connection to it. Or hey, you could get lucky and find yourself some key issues because some vendors, which I like, which I respect, sprinkle some of the keys in there just for fun because it's fun to like see the reaction of someone going, oh, is this for real? Like just $2? $2? Yeah, $2 because
in the bin.
Yeah, because little do they know the vendor has like 4 of them.
I know. Well, that's exactly what my vendor does when we go to the shows because he has a $1 bin section, right. And then he's got like 4 or 5 copies of a bunch of the books. Like there's one issue where he has it priced, in the back, like of like the better books for like $10 is like the first appearance of like Tim Drake as Robin. And then when I was at a show, like I'm literally looking at that book with the $10 mark on it. And then I'm seeing people in the $1 bin. Guy pulls out 2 copies in the $1 bin. He's like, I'm going to take these. And I'm like, wow, look at that. And there was still like more copies in there just like sprinkled about. So it's like.
Yeah, I love that. And that's what I love about Cal. I like that Cal does that because that really does. It keeps it fun for the new people. The people who are just like you. When you're not so much new now because now you've been educated.
Yes.
So, but you know now. But in the beginning, you didn't know. So it's nice that you have vendors who are like, yeah, go ahead, look at the bins, and you may find some issues that you didn't know were key issues, but you just thought, oh, this looks interesting. You bought it and not knowing at all.
Yeah, literally like this Knights of the Republic.
Exactly.
Book. It's like, oh, this one's cool. Wonder what it's about. Oh, it's $200. So
exactly right. So that's cool, man. That's cool that you found those books.
Yeah. So, but anyway, I wanted to just go back to Dallas because I know we had the guest on last week,
right? And
so I wanted to talk a little bit more about my experience in Fan Expo Dallas. It was a lot of fun. There was a lot of interesting moments, to say the least. One of them was the acquisition. That's the word I was looking for, of Keith David's autograph, which was like a whole odyssey amongst itself. It took 2.5 hours to get his signature because I get in line and then he goes through like 5 people and then he has to go on lunch. So then it takes like an hour. And then I go back, like that. They don't distribute the line or anything like that. So you just got to sit there for the whole hour. So then he comes back. It takes another hour to get to close to the front of the line. Then a guy in a wheelbarrow comes with like 50,000 different things that he wants him to sign. So he takes like 20 minutes just by himself. And then after that, then he says, okay, well, now I need to go to the restroom. And so then he goes to the restroom. And we were literally like the next people in line. And he goes to the restroom. That's another 15 minutes. Comes back. And then, at these comic book events and stuff like that, they usually on the website have you go and purchase the autograph beforehand. And then you go and you scan the code, and then it's like, it's already prepaid. You don't have to worry about it. It's easy, except for when the code reader breaks. And so then we get all the way up to the front of the line, and nope, code reader breaks. Can't do so you gotta move over to the side and let the people with cash go on through. And so then you're sitting there letting everybody else go through until finally the thing works. And then the line Nazi aficionado goes and says, okay, now we're going to go one for the regular people and then one for the code people. And then that's when we're all like, whoa, no, hang on. We were waiting in line just like everybody else.
Right.
We shouldn't, the only reason why we were off to the side was because, the thing was broken. And the thing is, like, she's like, crying and doing all this stuff. She says, I'm not even supposed to be here. This isn't my shift or whatever, and a bunch of other excuses. And the thing is that, like, the people that were next in line said that they were on our side. They said, no, take them first. And she was still trying to force her way into doing it.
Right.
And so then finally she relented and we got the autograph. But man, it was like, 2 hours, 45 minutes later, and we finally got the autograph. And this was on Saturday. And I learned my lesson too, because come back Sunday afternoon. You want to guess how long his line was on Sunday afternoon?
No, what is it?
Completely dead. Nobody there.
No, dude, no. Oh boy.
So,
yeah,
that was
talk about poetic justice. Wow.
That was an ordeal to get his autograph, but I got it, and it's cool. So there's that. But the thing is, the reason why I wanted to get it on Saturday was because last year when he was here, he wasn't not there, but at the convention, I was gonna get his autograph on Sunday, and then all of a sudden he just decided he wasn't gonna show up on Sunday, even though he was scheduled that he was gonna be there. So that's the reason why I'm like, okay, I'm definitely doing it Saturday because I know he's going to be there. And then come to find out, oh, yeah, well, I decided I'm going to be here Sunday. And so no line. But then the next thing was I just wanted to give like a PSA about another experience I had. This was an interesting thing. This was the first experience that I had with a comic book creator that I really felt jaded and really like the awful when I went and talked after the fact. This is the first like bad interaction I've ever had with a comic book creator. And so
congratulations, Kyle. You've been initiated. Chat, hold on. Chat, if you have your own stories of people of creators that you met that you respected and you loved, if you have a story where your interaction was absolutely bad, please share it. I would love to share it alongside Kyle's experience. But go ahead, Kyle. Go ahead and share your story. Your first story of a mean or a rude creator.
Yeah, he was definitely rude. I would say that's the key word.
Oli wants to know if he invited you to his hotel room.
No, I don't think so. He barely even acknowledged me. So
so there you go. So you weren't his type.
So what happened was, the creators of the Ultimate Wolverine, the new run that's been going on recently, that was just came out this year.
Okay. Right.
They were both at this convention, and so I had my Ultimate Wolverine #1, and I'm like, oh, great, I'm gonna get it signed by both of them, and then I'll have a double signed #1. I'm like, cool. So I go up to the writer, who is Chris Condon, and talking with him. Great guy. He's like, oh yeah, thanks, man. Here's what we're gonna be doing in the next issues, and I'm really thankful for you having for you supporting the book and stuff like that. Here, let me sign it. And then he put like sneaked, like the clause sneaked on the book. And he wasn't doing that for like every single book either. He didn't do it for the other people in front of me. It was just like, I guess sometimes writers or artists, they just kind of write or do duel or something like that randomly.
It's probably because you interacted with them, and you weren't fanboying out. You were actually having a conversation with them, and I think a lot of creators like that when you're able to do that.
Yeah, and I was gonna do the same thing for the artist, but when a couple hours go by, because he was at lunch when I went to get the writer, so then I came back and he was there, and so he was at his table, and he was talking. He was standing behind his table, and he was talking to some other people, some of the other I think one of the other comic book creators, I can't remember who, and some other people, but he was just kind of just talking. He wasn't really because nobody was there,
right?
And so I came up with the CGC person to get it authenticated, and we're like standing there in front of the table, like he looks at us and he's like knows that we're there, but then keeps on talking to his conversation, and we kind of just kept sitting there, and then it's like a couple minutes go by, and it's like can we get this signed by you or something like that? I know you're busy talking, but just kind of like we kind of been waiting here a little bit. And so then he just kind of like they looked at us, and then he just takes the book and he goes, and then dumps it on us, and like dumps it on the table, and then just went back to talking. Didn't even acknowledge I was there, basically.
Wow.
And so then I'm just kind of like just sit there like,
I bet.
And then his the person that's next to him, he's like, okay, that's gonna be $30. Or $20 or something. I don't remember.
Man, I'm just reminded of like that Dave Chappelle skit with Charlie Murphy and Rick James, and how the first interaction that Charlie Murphy had with Rick James. Have you seen that skit, by the way, Kyle?
No.
Okay. Well, you know who Rick James is, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Charlie Murphy, Eddie Murphy's brother, was recounting the story of how he first met Rick James, and his first interaction with Rick James was he liked that he was like straightforward and like a shooter, a straight shooter, that kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
And as they got to know each other, the first interaction was not the first one, but the second time they met, Rick James approached Charlie Murphy and went, "Charlie Murphy," and punched him right in the forehead, right? And he was talking about how he was conflicted, right? Because he was like, okay, on the one side, it's Rick James. He's a superstar. People love him. But then the funny part was like, but my ghetto side was like, yo, stomp that fool out. What's wrong with him, right? So that's how, for me, I feel like if I were there, it would be like one side of me would be like, well, okay, he's a Marvel artist, but again, my ghetto side was like, what the fuck? Dude, what's your problem?
I was contemplating that. I was like, really?
It's best to just leave it.
I know.
But now people know. Now the people watching know to maybe. I mean, I don't know. Maybe other people have the same experiences. Maybe you caught him at a off time where he was just not having it. I mean, who knows at this point?
I mean, maybe but it's definitely soured my taste for him. And it's like, I don't know. Should I say his name or just like
say his name?
Yeah. Okay. It's Alessandro Cappuccio, if I can say his name.
Cappuccio.
Alessandro
Cappuccio. Alexandro Duccio. There you go.
Yeah.
That's his name. The Duccio. According to Kyle, or according to Kyle's experience. The Duccio.
I know.
The Duccio.
it was just a like, and even the CGC guy that was saying that, who was there next to me, he was even a little put off by it too. He was just
Yeah.
like, oh,
No, that was definitely really rude. Yeah, that was rude. That was really rude. How you did that. That was uncalled for. But hey, people have their temperaments. But now you have the experience, Kyle, of what most of us have experienced. I mean, thankfully I've never experienced anyone like that in my time going to a con. The only time that I guess the closest thing was Peter David, God rest his soul. But he wasn't mean. He was just kind of cold when I spoke to him, like he was just kind of like short and cold, but not rude. Not rude at all. But that was the closest thing I got to like a rude creator. But I could tell it was already late in the day, and I could tell he was like already done. Like, I just want to go home. So he probably was just really short, with the conversations because he probably was like there all day for all I know. But that's the closest thing I got to an experience like that. But
yeah.
Justin says, I don't know, Justin, if he's the Moon Knight artist. Did Kyle say he tasted sour? You gotta watch what you say, Kyle.
I know. Well, whatever. But anyway, yeah, it's and then another instance too, where every convention I like to get a sketch cover done by an artist at the convention. And so I was looking at the people there. There was a lot of artists. There was like a lot of really good artists. And there was a guy that had pretty good artwork, and he was doing it for like very good cheap price. But like, he said that you could do, a couple of covers that I wanted him to do. And so I'm like, okay, well, I'll see what, how well he does. And so I gave it to him on like Friday or Saturday morning, and I said, hey, I'm gonna get these, graded because I like to get them graded. Can you make sure you get them done by Sunday? And he's like, yeah, no problem. I'll probably not, he said I'll probably have them done, later on Sunday, so you can come by and pick them up. And I'm like, okay, cool. So later that Sunday comes around, I go to his booth, and then he just like, oh, hey man, how's it going? Yeah, I just didn't get to your sketch covers. Here are your books back.
Oh no. Oh gosh.
And I'm like, what? You have my number. You could have texted me.
Right.
I could have found somebody to do a different cover at this convention, and now it's like 4:00 on Sunday. The convention closes at 5.
Right.
It's too late for me to get somebody else to do something. And
Bummer.
so he basically just ruined it. So yeah.
That was 2 weeks ago, right? So did you ever get that or no?
What?
Did you cancel the commission, or did he?
No, he didn't even start it. He didn't do anything. So
so you just canceled it then? You just
well, like, I didn't cancel it. Like, I was gonna pay for it after.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
After. Gotcha. All right.
So yeah, he's just it was just one of those things where it's like, come on, man. You could have just like let me know. So that was another instance where it was just like, oh, it really wasn't my convention this time. Or at least not everything go to plan like normal. That was the first convention. Like I said, different kinds of firsts. The first convention where, get a rude comic book creator, and then another one that just drops the ball on something.
Yeah, I mean, but overall, you had a good time though, right?
Yeah, because I was with my family and we were having a good time, and I did get some of the other stuff that I wanted. So yeah, it was still a lot of fun. I definitely recommend that you go. And oh yeah, and that was another thing too that I didn't get to. Man, there was a lot of things. I wanted to meet Eric July, see how he is in person.
Oh, really? Eric July, the Eric July, the 3 million man. So did you get a chance to meet him too, or
no? Because he was gone on Sunday.
Oh, he was gone on Sunday. Okay.
And his booth too was like way off in the back corner back room somewhere, and I couldn't find it. And then eventually came, searching like the whole perimeter of the convention. I finally found his
They
booth.
didn't give you like a map with
No,
all
they
the...
this convention they don't have pamphlets or program books
Oh,
or
really?
anything like
You
that.
just go in and you just walk around and
I
find
think
what you
they
need to
have one
find?
on the website, but
Ah, okay.
when
Right.
you're in the convention, the service isn't exactly 100% all the time.
I see.
So it's kind of just like you gotta have to just go down all the aisles and try to find them.
Okay.
So
Cool.
anyway, that was my experience at Fan Expo Dallas. And
Oh,
so
well, I mean, that sounds cool. I mean, you flew there. You got to meet Keith David, which was, I'm sure, cool. And I'm
oh
sure
yeah,
you
he was
got...
cool.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm sure you got to meet a lot of people too. You got other signatures as well, right?
I did. I met Anthony Daniels, who was the voice
Nice, dude.
of
CPO. Cool.
C3PO. I got him. It was my nephew. He's younger. He's like 13, and he believed that C3PO was all auto-tune, that like it wasn't his actual voice that was doing it. And I'm like, no, that's how he actually sounds. And he's like, nah, I don't believe you. So then I'm like, all right, well, let's go there and talk to him. And so then I told C3PO Anthony Daniels that, and then he's like, I'm C3PO, human cyborg relations, and the whole voice and everything. And so it was really cool, a lot of fun hearing Anthony Daniels do that. And
That's
then
cool.
it was
Classic. Ray knows. Ray knows what I'm talking about. So that's cool.
jokes.
That's cool. So your nephew got humbled a little bit by seeing what actual talent looks like.
Yeah. How about
Yeah.
that?
How about that, right? How about that?
Not a lot of that going around.
Yeah, for the
these
longest time
days.
too, when I was a kid, I used to think that too. Oh, this is probably done, with computers and after the movie shot. But no, when I saw clips of him actually doing the voice, it's like, whoa, he could do the voice.
Yeah.
That's why he got cast. Because he was able to do it.
And he, I think it's great too that every single time that you hear his voice or see him in anything, it's always him. Like there's no
Right.
other like, how sometimes in like animated stuff or other.
Well, no, Darth Vader is an
offshoots-
example of that.
Yeah, yeah, but like even so, like, but him, it's always him.
Right. Well, what I meant was like, it was Anthony Daniels in that suit.
That too, yeah.
Yeah, and Darth Vader, it was a different actor, portraying Darth Vader, and James Earl Jones famously voiced him. So you mentioned one of the commission artists that you hired dropped the ball, right?
Yeah.
Dropped the ball, and of course you were disappointed in that. But maybe it wouldn't change your mind of getting another commission from him, or maybe it will. Maybe next time you won't get a commission from him because of the very fact that he didn't communicate with you or update you with hey, sorry man, but I got a whole bunch of stuff going. I'm not going to be able to do your commission. So by you going on Sunday at 4:00, it pissed you off because now it's like, now I can't go anywhere else to get what I want to get.
Pretty much, and that was the worst part too, is that there was a bunch of other people too that were also really cool that I would have liked to gotten a sketch done.
Exactly. So in other words, his lack of customer service, I guess, for lack of a better term, left you a little bit like and I'm pretty sure the Dushio guy, the artist of Ultimate Wolverine, maybe that also soured you're like, maybe I'm not gonna buy your books next time. If I see your name on it,
It's definitely not. I'm not gonna go see him again to get something signed.
Okay. Well, the reason why I mentioned all these things to you is because this is a good segue for the topic of the show. And the reason why I wanted to have this discussion tonight is because of how it's almost like a huge bomb went off in the indie comic book sphere, because we had another creator who used Indiegogo to raise funds to produce the comic book that he wanted to produce and deliver to the backers. And this caused a huge, and rightfully so, a huge conversation and dialogue amongst creators and also backers who shared stories about how they backed this project and it's 3 years late, 4 years late, 5, some even are going close to 5 years now at this point. And some are just completely like ghosted. Just like I never got my book. The guy just deleted his account and now I got no way to contact him.
Yeah.
And so it caused a much needed conversation to the forefront, which is which one is it? Is crowdfunding dying because people are just not into crowdfunding, or is it dying because the creators who are involved are essentially killing it? In other words, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I want to talk about today was crowdfunding, because it's crowdfunding has been such a blessing for a lot of indie creators like myself who worked really hard to try to break into the industry. So not so much now, but 10, go back 15, 20 years ago, maybe even 20 years and beyond before, right? From up until maybe 2010, I want to say. If you were an aspiring writer or an artist, the dream was to get published by Marvel or DC Comics, or even Image book, get picked up by Image and have your book published by Image Comics, because at this point, Image is like part of the trinity of comics, right? Marvel, DC,
Right.
and Image. You get published by any of those three, you're made. You're good. You're pretty much made in the eyes of readers. And to a small, lesser extent, Dark Horse, because Dark Horse is still a big deal. I'm not gonna discount Dark Horse, so it's 4.
Yeah.
But Image is like, in the eyes of the readers, Image is like up there above Dark Horse.
Oh yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, and so this here is the post that in question. So Rob Hunter is a writer and comic book artist, and I don't know if he worked from the industry for the professional. I don't know if he was a professional artist. Chat, if you guys know, please let me know, because I'm not sure. But he had a book called Death Raider that he launched. I think it was about 3 years ago now, or maybe 2 years ago. I'm not sure. And he wrote this update to his backers. And I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm just going to read the highlighted portion here, which is: the point of crowdfunding, in theory, is it covers my bills while I work and promote the project. Now, he says this never happened. It was my savings and freelance work that carried Death Raider through the campaign. Yet I still want to deliver to the few fans that supported this amazing project. Where does that leave the book? Either I come to some sort of compromise with my debtors and the book ships in the fall of 2025, or it's bankruptcy and the printing and shipping funds are confiscated. Now, I don't even know where to start. I don't even know where to begin with this. Okay, thank you guys. Ben says that he was a pro inker. And I think for DC, and then of course Ray. What's up, Ray? Julier. The highlighted portion, in theory, he put in theory, but I in my personal experience of crowdfunding, it was made known to me right off the bat, this isn't a free money. In other words, you are raising the funds to help produce your book, and the perks are there for people who want to back your book and maybe want a little bit extra for what they're going to give. So they back your perks, so that way they can give you the money and not feel so much as like too much of a risk, I guess, is in other words. Criminal behavior in this campaign. Yeah, it's pretty close for sure. And then, not just him, but everyone else. Are you getting the echo?
Yeah.
Guys, are you getting the echo?
Yeah.
Let me know, guys, if you're getting the echo, because if you are, I think I know why. Hold on, let me just remove this real quick again.
Okay, echo. No. So
Yeah, it's that. Hold on. Let me just do this again.
again, high production budget show.
Of course.
You know?
Of course. All right. Ben says this post made me so frustrated that money is for books, not bills. Yes, and that's my point exactly, Ben. Is that it was common sense that you get the money and you use the money to funnel to produce your book, so that way you could cover printing costs, shipping costs, and whatever's left over you get to keep. And that was the understanding that I understood when I got into the game. The things that I failed at were the promotion and marketing. That's where I failed at. And I failed at a few times. My own personal journey with crowdfunding has been, I launched my first book. It didn't fund. So whatever money I got, I refunded the backers and I retreated back and I rearranged my approach. I changed my strategies. I made sure that next time I would get funded. And then I did Ghetto Dragon Book 1 and that funded. And then after I fulfilled the books and the campaign to all the backers, the money I had left over wasn't enough to produce the rest of the book. And so that left me with wondering, well, what do I do now? And so I told myself, okay, well, I'm not going to, raise funds for the continuation of Ghetto Dragon because A, I lost my artist, and then B, I have to find another artist. So I put that to the side. Then I went forward to do Vigilant Fury. And Vigilant Fury the idea was, okay, I'll find an artist, I'll work with him, cut a deal with him or her. And eventually found Gambino. We cut a deal. We went back and forth the idea. And I said, okay, let's try to raise funds based on the proof of concept. You draw about 7 pages or so as a preview, and then we'll shop it around and try to raise the funds. And we did, but but then what happened was halfway through the production, the artist Gambino changed his mind on the style. He wanted to change the style completely, made it better. And now we're okay. What do we do now? We're like halfway through the year. The backers expect the book in 6 months, and you want to change the style. And so we had to bite the bullet and update our backers saying, we're sorry, but we are changing the art direction and it's going to take a little longer, but here are some preview pages so you can see what we're doing. And great. Thankfully, the backers were okay with it because, again, communication is key. This is why I was asked you the question about the commission artist and also the artist of the Ultimate Wolverine.
Yeah.
So we went on and we were still late. I mean, it's tough, that's something you don't want to happen ever when you're running a campaign, and we had to do it. And like I said, thankfully we only had a few people who requested their money back and we did provide them the refunds, but we kept on going and eventually we finished it. So that was a lesson learned there. I was like, okay, next time I got to have the book at least somewhat finished, and we got to figure out the aesthetic and the art direction of a book before we even start drawing it. That was a huge lesson learned right there. And so the next one was Research Protocol. That one was 90% done or 95% done. And I had to recolor some pages. And of course, the whole deal with the colorist occurred where he had a personal issue and he couldn't give me the pages on time. So that book was late and that really threw off all my plans. And so now with everything that I've learned, I realized, okay, the book has to be at least 95% done. And I gotta get those pages done before or in production as I fund the campaign, so they can give me some time to get those pages done and deliver the book on time. And that's been my experience with crowdfunding. And so with this here, this message, this Rob Hunter individual, he, amongst a bunch of other creators, by the way, have given the crowdfunding scene a black eye, because what's going to happen now is that a lot of people who backed it are no longer going to back any campaigns unless they know for sure they're going to get their books within the time period that's promised, and also if they can guarantee that the book is almost done, not just at the beginning stages. So that was like that was my trial and error as I'm trying to figure this out, because a lot of us treat the crowdfunding platform as a storefront. And I
Right.
learned that it's not a storefront. It truly is a platform to raise funds to produce the book. And you give the backers their copies, and you give them a little extra something as a thank you for having faith in your pursuit to make a comic book, or otherwise you wouldn't have that opportunity. You know what I mean? And so for you, Kyle, have you ever backed a campaign?
So yes, I have backed a few. I mean, I just backed a campaign actually just a couple weeks ago, because it was from the Zen Intergalactic Ninja, because I know the creator
Okay.
of it, and so he just announced that he was going to be doing book 2, and so I went and backed the book. But this would be, I think, one of the first times to actually like back a book, especially on kicks, not counting you and stuff
Right.
like that.
Right.
This would be the first time another creator that I backed. To be honest, I'm very not lazy, but it takes a lot for, like, basically, honestly, it takes a lot of faith that I know that the creator is going to deliver. Honestly, I
Right.
think that's it, because I personally know the creator, and I know that he does send, he'll get the book done, and I obviously knew you, so you'll get the book
Right.
done.
Right.
So it's like, I guess for me, it was never a risk to do it. And I think that's sort of, I guess, my hang up on some of these other campaigns, is that I don't necessarily want to take that risk of
Right.
trying to hope that the book will come in. And, I spend, however much, most of the time it's like minimum $15 for something, and then you plus the shipping and plus
Oh, it's
any
more
of
than
the add-ons.
$15, dude.
I
It's
know, say
actually
like minimum.
that's like the really low minimum.
Yeah,
Usually the average is about 25 to 45.
yeah,
That's the
exactly.
average for a crowdfunded book. Eric says here that this is why I do not like crowdfunds anymore. It is too much of a risk. I've been burned too many times. And even though I've received some awesome books from creators, the amount of times I got burned outweighs it. And that's right there. Right there.
Yeah,
Eric's thought right there is perfectly well put. It's the weighing, right? It's like, what outweighs what? Is it the good? Is it more good or more bad? And unfortunately, it's been more bad. It's been more bad because there's been so many campaigns that I've seen personally that never fulfill, or they do fulfill, but they fulfill, and I'm guilty of it too. I can't I can't really say too much bad things because
yeah,
I'm guilty of it too. But the key is always communication, and I think that's the main thing that a lot of backers, and you could say if I'm wrong or not, chat, but that a lot of backers really get soured on, which is lack of communication, the lack of like, hey, I'm sorry guys, this is what's going on. I promise you we'll get your book. It's just that this is what happened, and you got to be transparent. And that's what I was. That's why I think it helped me and Gambino, was that we were honest about it. We're like,
yeah.
look, here's the deal, and told it to him, and thankfully only like one person refunded their money from
I
it.
mean, technically, you could say that this guy was being honest at the end, saying, "Yeah, guys,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just
yeah,
took the money."
but see, the thing is, here's the problem with this though, is that he said in theory, right? Even though he said in theory, the reality is he used the money for himself.
Yeah,
It's obvious that he used the money for himself. He spent money on maybe he bought that new car he wanted. Maybe he bought something that he wanted to get for a long time, or maybe he's never seen $30,000 in his bank account ever in his life, and he just got like, whoa, like, who knows? But the fact is, he spent it before he even finished the book.
yeah,
And the fact that he's saying, "Oh, poor me, this is my debt," and everything, is like, well, dude, you still got the money though.
right.
You still received $30,000, And I remember you pitching the book, and you never mentioned anything about financial struggles when you were pitching the book.
Right.
You were fine going to all the shows and saying, hey, this is gonna be a great book. You should check it out.
Is that what he was saying, or do you know?
It's been
Or
a while since I've seen those live streams, but
yeah.
well, I don't think I don't remember him saying that.
I mean, the thing is, like, okay, yeah, technically, yes, you are correct in your statement before about how, yeah, crowdfunding isn't a storefront, and that's what kind of what he's saying here. Eric Wapo saying that's like, yeah, why risk something that may or may not be when you could just go somewhere else and know for sure that it's going to be done and ready to go.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
So I mean, like okay, so technically Kickstarter and they're, you're not obligated to give your book, and yeah, it is a risk. I just don't think that in today's day and age, especially when you have reports and people's reviews of like campaigns, it's almost like a 50-50 flip whether or not it's going to get done or not. Like, if the odds were more like 80-20 or like 90-10 or something like that it's going to get done, then I feel like more people would be inclined to crowdfund. But it seems like from an outsider's perspective, like, again, I haven't really done much crowdfunding before, but it seems like it's almost like a 50-50 whether or not you actually get it or not. And even more so, even more like 80-20 the other way, like 20% of the time that's going to be on time type of thing. So it's like, why would I go and do that if I know that it's not going to come on time or even come at all? And so I think, though, do you think that in order to keep creators more accountable for their crowdfunding, that say you raise all the money, say you raise like the 30,000, and then you don't fulfill by the allotted time, do you think that like Kickstarter or something like that, maybe like hold the money and like escrow, and then if you don't deliver, then
that's a tricky situation, because the whole point of crowdfunding is to get the funds to produce your product.
Yeah.
So without those funds, you don't produce the product. That's the idea of crowdfunding, is that it's pretty much venture capitalism, in a democracy state. You're asking a whole bunch of people to throw money at you to produce something, as opposed to going to a meeting at a high-rise building and convincing venture capitalists to invest in your company or in your idea, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So Eric says something here that actually resonates with me. Rob sounds like he did not know how to properly manage money and had a huge misunderstanding of how to use crowdfunding funds.
Yeah.
And so I mean, your idea is good, Kyle. It's a good idea, but again, it's one of those things where the reason why we raise the funds is to pay for all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then whatever's left over, great. That's a plus. But
well, what about, okay, I understand that perspective of like, yeah, you have to have the money to raise, to produce the book and stuff like that.
Right.
Maybe a difference, case could be made where, what if instead of holding the money in escrow, maybe like the creator, like of a comic book, makes a short story, like maybe like a 5 to 10 page short story or something that you're guaranteed to get, even if the main book doesn't pan out, that that short story will automatically be sent to the backers, so at least they'll get something.
See, but you're not buying that. See, like this one, Death Raider. People backed Death Raider because they want Death Raider. People backed Cyberfrog because they want Cyberfrog. People backed there's countless examples. You don't back the short story, you back the 80-page story that you promise backers that you can deliver to them.
Yeah, I
You know,
understand that, but like getting something is better than just getting nothing.
you're right, but why? If say one of the perks is $50, Kyle, will you be happy to receive a 5-page short comic? No, no,
I
you
mean,
wouldn't.
no,
Don't think
yeah.
about it. You know you wouldn't. You'd be like, "What
I
the hell,
mean,
dude?"
I would rather that than just lose the $50.
Well, but dude, but a five, no, no, that won't work. No, you
No,
you
I
have
mean, like either I'm not gonna be happy about it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, I got my 5-page book. That's great. I'm just saying that it at least would then put something on the uh creator, like an incentive on the
see
creator that
that's a like I said, it's a sticky situation because like I said, you raise the funds in order to cover the costs, so you won't pay out of pocket. That's the whole deal with crowdfunding. And it really is almost a lot of it is faith based. You like hoping you get it, but there's no guarantee you'll get it. And that's the risk. That's the risk I think a lot of regular comic book readers could never ever back a crowdfunding campaign because just like every buyer, right? I go to the store, I see a product, I buy it. I don't buy it and then wait a year to get it. It doesn't make sense
right,
for a lot of people. And I understand that 100%, because I was one of those people too in the beginning. But for me, it was like, oh my God, this is an opportunity for me to actually produce comic books that I want to write and not have to wait 30 days for a editorial panel at Image or at Dark Horse to decide whether or not my book is good enough to be published by their house, by their publishing house and company,
yeah,
and being rejected over and over again. And here's an opportunity to build something from the ground up with the help of actual readers and fans who may like your proof of concept or may like the story you want to produce. And that's a beautiful thing. But the problem is that a lot, like Eric said, a lot of people have been burned. So there's a lot of people who have dropped off. They're like, I'm never going to back anything else ever again. And
right.
that's what hurts the crowdfunding scene because we need people like that in order to grow. And so that's why for me now, I've been adjusting my approach to crowdfunding because I realized from those previous crowdfunding campaigns that I still had a lot to learn. I had to learn how to manage certain things and also plan out properly, so that way I can continuously grow as I produce more books.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the real challenge that I face. I don't know about anyone else, but personally, that's my own the biggest challenge and the hurdle that I face going forward. Especially now, it's going to be a lot harder now after what happened here with this Rob Hunter character.
Right.
Crenshaw says, I think having been a pro and seeing the ability of the bigger names in the indie scene to make a living off their books, he thought that this was how it worked. And yeah, I think that's the problem. He's probably misguided, but still, it's still like, who told you that was the right way to do it? Like, I want to know who told you that. Because if they told you that, they screwed you over. Ray said, don't screw the hooker unless you know the price. Yeah, that's true. There you go, Odie, right on the money. Hire someone to manage your funds.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest challenge. For sure, crowdfunding was his lotto ticket. Yeah, I think he treated it like a lotto ticket, you know?
Well, I mean, at some point he had to have known that he's gonna, at some point somebody's gonna call him and ask him, where's the thing that you promised?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, that day was gonna come eventually, I guess.
Yeah, it came for me. It
Yeah.
came for me numerous times, but thankfully I had, polite backers. They were polite about it. And thank God for that, because I mean, who wants to hear an angry, person who gave you money to produce something at a certain
Right.
time? And that's it's a very heavy, it can be a very heavy weight to carry. But if you're built for it, because I'm all about this. I want to be successful. Of course I want to be successful. But I also understand that this involves a high trust. If you don't have people who trust you, you're never gonna have a successful campaign ever again. Or if you did have a successful campaign the first time, your numbers will go down. They'll go down dramatically
Yeah.
because of various reasons. One, maybe they read your book and they thought, oh crap, you know what? This isn't very good. So I'm not going to back the next one. Or, I was promised a book within this much time, but I got it like 3 years later. Well, I'm not going to back this guy ever again. I'll accept the book, but the next campaign, nope, not having
Right.
it. And that's the challenge that we have to face as an indie creator. And
Does like Kickstarter and all the other crowdfunders and stuff like that, do they have like reviews from previous like purchasers, like like stating, yeah, this person delivered on time, this person
no,
did.
they don't, but they do have the comment section on your page is public.
Okay.
So if you're like, say you're a creator, right, and you have a crowd, an Indiegogo or a Kickstarter or whatever, and your book is like a year late, and someone finds your book. Let's just say someone randomly discovers your book and go, whoa, this is pretty cool. What is this? And they click on your link, and it's a crowdfunding campaign. It's closed, but it's in demand, meaning you can still order a book, or maybe, yeah, you can still order a book. But then you start reading the comments and you say, hey, where's my book? Where's my book? Where's my book? What's going to happen?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to back this.
Well,
It's
yeah,
late.
that's what I was gonna say. Like, that's what I was gonna say. Like, if like the crowdfunders, they had a more prevalent thing that would then like push creators that like always deliver on time and always deliver and stuff like that.
No, that's on you. That's all on you.
Yeah.
So that not on you. I'm sorry. It's more the backers will speak for you.
Yeah.
So if you're on time all the time, the backers who got your book and they liked your book, let's just say let's just say you hit all the marks. You crowdfunded, you raised the funds and some, you printed the books, you fulfilled it on time or relatively on time. Sometimes you could be a little late, but it's right. I mean, backers will forgive a book that's been a few weeks late or a month late, as long as you keep, like Ray said earlier, as long as you're transparent and you keep them in the loop. And then once they receive it and they read it and they like it, and then you come up with another campaign, chances are those backers are going to tell their friends, hey, do you know what, man? This is a really good book and the guy fulfilled and you should check it out and back it. Because it's really good. And so it's all
only through word of mouth, basically.
It's word of mouth. Yeah. It is 100%. And you're lucky if you do find those loyal backers who will back you no matter what, because they're just fans of yours. But if you want to grow in this system here, the crowdfunding system, you're going to have to deliver every single time and communicate every single time, because as Eric here points out, making comics is hard. It is not easy to create, publish, deliver, and promote your book. You have to wear so many hats as an indie creator, especially when you're crowdfunding, because a lot of us don't have the network system where we're like, okay, I'll take care of the creative side, you take care of promoting the marketing, you take care of this, and so on and so forth, because we're all Ronin. Indie creators are like Ronin samurai. They're the ones who are not under a house. They're just wandering around by themselves.
Lone wolves,
exactly. And that's the issue I have personally with indie comics today, is that everyone wants to be a lone wolf, which is fine. If you want to be a lone wolf and you can handle it, that's cool. But at some point, a lot of us are going to have to join forces and help each other out if we want to grow together. And grow together, not meaning you stay married together and you stay together. I'm saying like help each other out, together and move up. And then once you get to a point where all of you can be okay, you can split off and do your own thing. And that's the problem I face and I see amongst the indie comic book spheres, because the people who are the most successful are the ones who have the strongest networking foundation that I've witnessed personally. And the ones who are smaller, they fulfill it, but I would imagine for instance, when I was fulfilling Ghetto Dragon the first time around, I got the books, right? Bags and board, the
Yeah.
Gemini mailers, all that stuff. And as I was doing it in the middle of it, I was like, dude, if I think it was only about, I think I only had like about close to 100 backers, maybe a little less than that the first time. And I told myself, imagine if I have 500 backers or 1,000. Would I be able to do this by myself? It would take me forever to fulfill this.
Yeah.
If I had 1,000 books I had to fulfill, and that's where a lot of
That's when you'd
comic
call
creators,
me up and you're all like, "Hey, you
yeah,
come over."
but even with 2 people, I mean, yeah, it'll be easier, but it'll still be tough, you know. And I think that's where a lot of comic book creators who do get those numbers, because their book was really good, the people are excited about it, they did a good job pitching it, and then when they get down to it, they're like, oh, dude, this is a lot of work, and they don't realize that.
Well, isn't that kind of what I heard that Eric July did? He bought a whole warehouse or something like that to.
Yeah, because $3 million. I mean, okay, $3 million, but he sold about 15,000 books or so.
Yeah.
So you can imagine 15,000 books. Where am I going to put those at? He had to get that warehouse, you know, and good on him, because it did help. It did help fulfilling his books on time.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I will give Eric July credit. He's a fantastic publisher and distributor. Like he was on it when he got what he got, you know, and so kudos to him. Ben says the hard truth about crowdfunding in situations like this is that it's a fundraiser and not a sale. That's why the books are called perks or rewards. He won't be held accountable for it. Exactly right, Ben. And that was my mistake. I treated Indiegogo like a store when I first started doing it. And in reality, that's not how it works. It's to raise the funds, like he said, a fundraiser essentially to help you fund your dreams to like take off, you know. So
yeah, I mean, I guess I just feel like there should be some sort of accountability on the
yeah, well,
creator side.
the accountability comes in the form of you're marked.
Yeah,
You're marked forever. Your name is marked in bad blood forever in the eyes of backers, and not only backers but peers. You know, so if you bounce like this guy Rob Hunter, he's done. He's done, dude. He can never crowdfund a book again unless he fulfills the books. If he fulfills the
probably, yeah.
books and he delivers something extra for whatever reason, let's just say he does it. He's able to pull off a miracle, get the funds that he needs to print the books and ship them out, and he does it. And on top of that, he does a mea culpa, right? Some where he provides something extra just because of your patience and your whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Then he might get back into the good graces of backers. But at this point, after this, he's done. He's never going to be able to crowdfund anything ever again, because not only are the backers going to call him out on it if he comes back, his peers that he could have used as a network foundation are going to say, sorry, dude, but you didn't back your last book. We're not going to have you on our show. We're not going to help you promote. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I guess I get that. It's.
Eric says, I have thrown away a lot of CG crowdfunded books for being terrible and overpriced. Yeah, some of them are pretty bad, I'll have to admit. But we're going to say, I'm sorry, Kyle. What was your thought? I cut you off there for a second.
Yeah, I know. I guess it's just going along with kind of also what Ben
Thank you, sir.
said. Yeah, it's like it's not a guarantee that you will get it.
Yeah.
And
the dude even had a Brett Booth cover. Can you believe that, Kyle?
Oh, really?
He had a Brett Booth cover.
I bet that perk wasn't cheap.
I bet not. But yeah, Ben's right. What a waste. What a waste, because people could have had a Brett Booth covered, Death Raider comic book. And I'll admit, it looked pretty cool. When I saw the images of the comic book, I was like, wow, this looks pretty cool. But he never got it done. And that's the issue that crowdfunding has presented with a lot of creators is that they don't know how to use it properly, and that's been the issue.
I wonder what like step in the process that he was at when I guess the money dried up or something like that. Like,
who knows? I mean, I'm
like was it
speculating.
like half done? Was it like, did he not
Yeah,
even
right,
start it?
right.
Because like, okay, like given this scenario, like say he was half done with the book, like say
Right.
like it was, penciled and colored, like maybe say given this scenario, say the book was at least all penciled and like half of it was inked and maybe like 3/4 was colored. And then he's, this happens. Would you still want that book that's not completed, but it's still the stories there penciled, but not completely inked or colored?
No. When you pitch a complete book, you better deliver a complete book. You got to.
Yeah.
Or else again, why back the next campaign if you're not even delivered, a full completed book? Overall, to sum up this whole scenario, this whole situation is that now more than ever, indie creators are going to have to work a lot harder to gain the trust of backers, and you're all going to have to start small. You can't. I mean, if you do reach the heights of like the 10Ks, the 20Ks, 30Ks, that's great, but you got to maintain it.
Yeah.
And you can't rely on cult of personality anymore these days. And that's the oh, there you go. He was doing the whole book himself. Pencils, inks, colors, and letters. So he was doing it all himself.
So, I mean, like, I guess technically.
You know what I think happened, Kyle?
Yeah.
I think he had a day job. He got the 30K, and he said, great, I could quit my job and live off the 30K while I finish the book. And then as he was drawing the book, that 30K started dwindling dramatically because you got rent or mortgage, depending on whether or not he owns his house. You have bills, food, you have all kinds, utilities, car, gas, maybe you got oil change, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
It dried up fast. And when he got to the point where he was like, holy crap, if I finish this book, I'm going to have no money to print and ship this out.
Right.
And so
then like, I guess then technically, okay, say in that scenario, he had finished the book. Couldn't he then like give a PDF version of it or something, like scan the pages and then at least they'd be done, like the book's done, and not do with the printing and the shipping. It's like, yeah, it's like,
no, there can't be no compromise.
I'm just trying to think of.
I know you are, and you know what? I appreciate that because you're providing you're providing solutions to problems that creators can come up with if that ever does happen to them. But honestly, Kyle, at the end of the day, it really is irresponsible what he did. It really is.
No, I know. I'm not like defending him.
No, I know you're not. I know you're
Yeah.
not. But you're just trying to figure out how can like you salvage.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, and I respect that because I think you have the right idea. But I just know it's still a death nail to your coffin. Because even though you do deliver a PDF, here you go, guys. I'm sorry for not delivering the book. So here's the PDF.
At least here's the book. Yeah, at least here's the book. Yeah,
but,
sorry.
But you have to remember the people who back the bigger perks.
Yeah.
I backed the big perk because I wanted the book. I wanted your commission page. I wanted your original page. I wanted the card, whatever. I wanted all that stuff. And all you're giving me is a PDF. So thank you. But the next time I'm not backing your campaign anymore.
Yeah.
It's still a death nail, no matter how you slice it. Crenshaw says he could have got more inking work. He inked Hunter Ninja Bear and his name is connected to the sequel. Well, there you go. I think it's just straight up mismanagement, honestly, and irresponsibility. He was very irresponsible because even I knew from the get-go, I'm not going to touch this. I'm not going to touch a penny from this money until I fulfill the books.
Yeah. Well, you have a lot more self-control than other people.
Yeah, but it's very easy. You're easily tempted because you have the money in your account. You're like, wow, I got this money in my account. But you have to remember,
all those color signs.
Yeah, exactly. And human nature is human nature. Some people can't control their inner vices. Their vices, of what they have, and greed is a huge vice that a lot of people have.
That first Green Goblin book over there is mighty tempting.
It's only $500. I could afford that.
I got all this money, and then it's like literally the Goblin mask in the background. It's like, do it, buy it.
Come on, buy it. But what's $500 in the grand scheme of things?
You're a comic book creator. You could just go and sell the books more.
Eric says some guys bite off more than they can chew. Some creators need to stick to creating and get work from other creators. Yeah, that's what I've been realizing. I'm realizing that as I continue on this pursuit of making comics in the indie scene, at some point, hopefully, God willing, I'm able to afford a hype man of some sorts to do all that stuff for me, because I love doing it. Don't get me wrong. I love going out to people's channels and talking comics, talking shop, and promoting my book and getting people to, raise the brand awareness of Lucid Comic, Ghetto Dragon, Vigilant Fury, Reset Protocol, so on and so forth. And I love doing that. It's just very time consuming.
Yeah.
It's very time consuming. That's why they call it a campaign, because you have to go out and campaign for your product, because Julius Freeman is not a household name. Julius Freeman is a known name in the grand scheme of things. They may know of me. They may see me on Twitter. They may see me out here on the show. They may see me on Instagram. But in the eyes of readers, who are you if you haven't been published by, the Marvel, DC, or Image? You're just an indie creator, quote, a nobody. I hate to use that word, but that's the reality of it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's true. I mean, you could go so far as to say, even the biggest names in comic books are still kind of nobodies to the general audience of people.
Right. Yeah. And at some point there were nobodies in the beginning too.
Yeah.
They were starting out just like me, doing the Comic-Con circuit, having a small table with one book, and eventually started growing to the point where finally someone noticed them and hired them to write, a book for Marvel, DC, or even Image. Maybe one of their books got picked up by Image and got published. It's just a matter of hustle. It's the amount of hustle you put in to your brand. And I love it because it's been a huge learning experience for me as a creator. And as much as I would rather lock myself in the room and just write stories and just have this machine, produce them for me, and not a machine like AI, but I'm talking like sending the script to the artist and then them doing it and doing the collaboration process.
Yeah.
And I hope, and I wished I could have someone who's more business minded, more marketing minded, to be like, okay, here's how we can sell your product to people. Here's what we can do. Here's some scripts. Here's some ideas. And to be able and to wear those many hats, I'm not a marketing guy. I'll admit it. I'm not. That's the toughest part for me as a creator, is being able to market myself and promote myself, because I was never accustomed to it. So now I have to grow to get accustomed to it, to get used to it. To feel comfortable in that skin, wearing that hat, because it's all on me essentially at this point.
Yeah, it's your book. You gotta do it all yourself. That's what you wanted. Said the thing.
And
like if you want to reap the rewards, you gotta
100%.
Go through it.
And as much as I wish things were easy, that's not how life works. You have to work for it, and I realize that. And so, again, very unfortunate for Mr. Rob Hunter, because he's done. He's not going to be able to raise any more funds or do any other campaign ever again in his life.
Yeah,
unless he does something right. But I don't know what that would entail.
Well, it's one of those things where you always, sayings that, it takes forever. It takes a long time to build trust.
Yes.
But you can lose it in a second.
Yeah. Easy.
And then you'll never get it back.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
Or
That's a lesson that a lot of aspiring creators should heed when they see Rob Hunter's message, and not just his, but all the other campaigns that ghosted their backers. Andrew Huerta is another one. He was one that raised, I think it was 40K, and he bounced. He bounced. He didn't even bother, updating backers. He just like took the money and bounced and never was seen again. And now,
Yeah.
from what I hear, he's still doing, he's still employed, doing storyboard work or something like that. But no one, all those people who backed that Sovereign book, they're never going to get it. Never.
Yeah.
So
I wonder if that was just like, I wonder if some of these are just like big elaborate cons where they go and they get,
I hope not, dude. I hope not, because that would totally destroy the system.
Yeah.
For comics, because crowdfunding is not only for comics, it's for anything. It's for an invention idea you may have, or a proof of concept of a piece of technology you're developing. You need some funds to help you build it or whatever.
Yeah.
Comic books are a very small market in the crowdfunding sphere. So in terms of comic books, it would totally destroy the system.
Yeah, no, I would.
If people found out that a lot of those ghosted campaigns were actually cons, that would be tough. That would hit big blow for the industry.
That would be a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah, for sure. Because no one likes to be conned. That's just like one of the most egregious things you could do to somebody, is to con them.
Yeah.
So I'll just say I'm grateful for the backers that did back the first, Ghetto Dragon, Vigilant Fury, and Research Protocol, because thankfully, again, it's because I fulfilled. I may have been late, for Vigilant Fury, but at least I communicated. At least I was transparent and let people know, like, this is the situation. I'm sorry. We'll make it up to you. And hopefully we did.
But I think what was more tolerable in your instance was because it's not like you were delaying it because you were lazy or you didn't get it done.
Right. It was out of my hands.
It was delayed because you're getting a better product.
Right.
It's like it's the art styles changed to the better. So it's like, sorry we're later, but because of that, here's something better that you weren't expecting already, to get. So that's more acceptable than just like, yeah, sorry, I just didn't get around to it. It's like,
no. no.
Also,
no.
like, all that, that backgrounds and stuff like that, those are hard to do for every panel, man. Yeah. So, we're going to have each page have one panel background. The rest of it, you're going to use your imagination.
Right. Funny. Oh my gosh. Ben says, I think most go into it thinking making a comic is easy, and once they feel the pain of the work, they become disillusioned. Very, very good observation there, Ben. Yeah, it can be, because people forget that it's work. It's still work. I mean, it's fun, but it's still work you got to put in to make sure you make a good product for the reader to enjoy. And so, yeah, I think that's another factor that a lot of indie creators don't realize when it comes to producing a comic book. Yeah. And a lot of artists love what they do, but if they feel like it's too much, they won't give you their 100%, and that's the tough part. That's the toughest part as an indie creator. It's where's the line to tell your artist that you're working with, hey, I need you to give me more. Yeah. Well, I'm not getting paid enough, or you're overworking me or whatever. And what do you do then?
Then you got this schism, between
yeah, exactly right. So yeah, it's crazy, dude. I guess for those who are thinking about crowdfunding their comic books in the future, here's my advice to you for free. Number one.
Well, you're not going to charge for this? It's a free
No,
advice.
I'll do this for free because I wish this was told to me when I started. And I did this all myself. It was all through trial and error. No one, I think at that point, it was so new. People didn't really know yet what this was. They just knew that There's a lot of good potential books out there. The art was phenomenal. People were excited. And so they were just buying. They were just back this, back that.
Right.
And 6 months for wait, 3 months for wait, a year for wait. People were like, you know what, I'm willing to wait because if the quality is going to be high, it's going to be worth it. And then after that first year, then people started to realize, hey, where's the book? It's not ready yet.
You're getting a little late here.
It's been about last time I checked about 5 years now. 5 years now since I've been waiting for this book. And so that started the downward trend of people going, never going to do this again. I got burned. No, thank you. But here's my advice. Yes, crowdfunding advice, Crenshaw. You're gonna have to pay out of pocket in the beginning. If you are an indie creator like me, who's just a writer who can't draw, you're gonna have to pay out of pocket. Find an artist who's willing to work with you price-wise. And make sure you have the right artist too. And when I mean by the right artist, I mean the artist who has the style that fits the story you're telling. So you don't, if you wrote a horror comic, you don't hire an artist who draws ponies and rainbows, right? You hire,
unless it's a horror pony rainbow story.
Then it's fine. But unless the artist is versatile and they can change their style, then cool, even better. But if that's what they want to draw, then you don't hire that artist. You find someone who fits the mold of your story, but you have to pay out of pocket. So that means save your money. That means, you may have to make some sacrifices if you don't have that much money to begin with in your bank account, but you're going to have to pay out of pocket and try to get at least at the very least 60% and above done.
Yeah.
Before you even think about crowdfunding. Second is promote and market. Tell people about your crowdfunding campaign. Book shows to people who are willing to have you on. You may have to go into some people's DMs and ask, hey, can I be on your show? And you might get some blocks. You might get some people who are, hey, don't come into my DMs ever again. Right. Unless I know you. But hey, you got to do what you got to do, man. You got to get your book out there, right? So you got to be a little shameless when it comes to your product, to your promoting and campaigning. The third thing is, do the math. Do the math. How much will it cost you to do X amount of books? Do the projections. Don't think about profit. Don't ever think about profit. Never. Just think about what the cost would be for printing, shipping, and labor, because it's going to take some labor for you. How much are you willing to take on yourself? How much do you think you can take on in case it does go over the 500 mark? 500 books, it may not seem like a lot, but it's a lot for one person to ship out and put out. So, you got to think about those things. Budget. What's the amount you need to cover the rest of the costs after you do the 60% of the comic book? And on top of that, always pay out of pocket until you get to the end. Until you backtrack.
Your advice is kind of falling apart here.
Try to give yourself enough time for the delivery date. So if you're 60% beyond past producing your book, then when you plan out when you want to launch, you got to give yourself that cushion, man. Give yourself those extra 3-4 months if you need to. But you got to plan it out based on your artist's schedule and whether or not they can commit to it. And of course, always keep your emergency message intact, meaning real life happens. It's always going to happen. Your artist could get sick. You can get sick. You can have some financial thing that happens where you like, dude, I have to my kid's sick. I got to take her to the hospital. I got to pay those hospital bills. Always keep that in mind when you're doing this, because a lot of the times people will forgive that if it's legit, obviously.
Yeah.
A further delay because of it. So it's like a big, monumental task to go and do a crowdfunding campaign, especially if you want to go big. But if you want to go small, then hey, just do a 22-page comic book and that should be doable for you. But if you want to go for those 80-page giants, it's going to take a lot of work. Trust me, it's going to take a lot more work. And
Yeah,
that was one of the
experiences.
that was one of the lessons I learned from Vigilant Fury. I realized I can't write 80-page books because I don't have the resources for that. I gotta do shorter books, 40-page books, 32-page books, 36-page stories, and stick with that. That's more doable for me personally. But if you can handle 80 pages, hey, more power to you. If you could raise those funds to get those 80 pages, again, more power to you. That's pretty much all the advice I have for that. Because it's all up to you at the end of the day. You have to put in the work and the effort to promote your book. And I'm guilty of not doing enough, honestly. I looking back, I wish I would have done more. I wish I would have pushed a little bit more. And I didn't, and I paid for it in the long run. I still got funded for Vigilant Fury, which was great, but it was too close. It was too close to like, dude, all I needed was just one mishap, and it would have fell apart. Yeah. And I got lucky. I got lucky that it didn't pan out that way. So yeah, that's my advice to that. I hope you guys, those watching, those who will watch the replay, if you guys have been burned by crowdfunding, I hope that doesn't ruin it for everyone, because not everyone wants to burn people. There's some of us right here who is serious about this. I really want to succeed in this. Just like everyone, Hojo I see here, Hojo, he hustles every day, man. Hojo is I don't know if he's still on the show or not, but I see his Twitter daily, and he just constantly pushing his books every single day. That's a good hustle. Yeah. There's other people too out there who promote their books, as much as they can, and they get their funds, and some, which is great. And that's the thing. You just got to put in the work, put in the time. What's up, Bat Merc?
Hey.
Kyle, any last thoughts about this situation? I know you only backed 2 campaigns, but now that you have like this, almost a clear picture of how crowdfunding is supposed to work, do you see yourself ever backing a crowdfunding book? And that's not someone that personally, that actually just maybe you see it and you're like, oh wow, it's pretty cool. I want that.
That's a good question. I think if I ever come across somebody who normally draws horror and instead draws rainbows and unicorn stuff, and like the title of it is Blood, Guts, and Rainbows, maybe that will be a book to back. But no, in terms of actual books from other people, that it's interesting, because this situation that happened, it definitely gives me more pause into
right.
being a little bit more choosy with who I will back or not. I think it's also a lot to do with how much research you put into this person, like maybe looking at their Instagrams, seeing what their how their art or writing is doing, stuff like that, how committed they are. I think there's a lot of factors that are going to be needing for me to be confident in the person before I back them. I do think that, this situation and just kind of it in general, it does make me reflect more on I need to make sure everything's in a row first before I back it.
Good. I'll give you some small advice. You got to look at how many campaigns they have.
Yeah.
Kickstarter, I don't know if Indiegogo does this or not, but because it's been a while since I used Indiegogo, but Kickstarter, what they do is if you are a creator who's done campaigns, it's under your thumbnail, it says, oh, this person has done 5 campaigns. And so if you see 5 campaigns and you see the latest one and you see that there actually is they funded and some, that should be a good indicator that they're reliable.
Yeah. That's kind of what I was talking about earlier, was if there was a way that you could gauge,
Kickstarter for sure. Kickstarter for sure will let you know this person has not only not only do they tell you how many campaigns they've done, they actually also tell you how many campaigns they backed personally as well.
Oh, okay.
So that way you can see yourself, oh, this person actually backs other campaigns too. So that'll maybe incentivize you to be like, well, I'm gonna support this one because I see 5 campaigns, I see that he's fulfilled and he's backing other people. So okay, cool. I'm gonna back this one.
Yeah.
And check it out.
So I think it's gonna be interesting going forward, seeing how many more if we're gonna. I mean, obviously, there's gonna be more cases of people being burned.
Yeah.
I think it's just one of those things that's like it's gonna happen. But I think what's gonna be more contentious is the frequency that we're gonna be hearing.
Right. Yeah. Right.
So it wouldn't be so bad if 1 out of 20 is like that. But if it's like, seems like, every 3 campaigns is like that, then it's like, well, that's not that good of odds, pretty much.
Right.
So, but yeah, that's what I have to say on the subject. If you want to, also make sure, like Ben posted in the chat, check out Lucid on Global Comics. And then also remember to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, leave a comment, talk about, we love chatting with everybody here on the show. As you can tell, we like to read everybody's comments because we're here to talk. That's the whole point of the show, is to have a discussion. And so having these sort of talks about, especially something in comic books that affects everybody, especially here because it's indie creators and it's, your money. So it's like it's something that,
exactly.
is a little important. We want to hear your thoughts on it and other topics. So don't feel free to always comment. We're always happy to talk. It's always gaining new experiences. And as I always say, you always have to build those experiences and read more comics.
Very well said. Another piece of advice I want to share before we call it a night is web comics. I forgot to mention, don't be afraid to do web comics because that's how you build your readership nowadays. And so if you have a book you want to do and you're paying out of pocket and you want to crowdfund it one day down the line because you obviously want to get a return on your investment, because that's what it is. It's an investment. And so my advice would be do it as a web comic. Maybe you get some revenue, from the web comic platform that could pay you if you do, get monetized on that platform, on those platforms, I should say. And that way you gain your readership. And then when you do the crowdfunding, you could try to funnel as many of those, readers of your web comic to the campaign to back the physical book. Because at the end of the day, we all like physical touch, right, Kyle?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you said it, man.
yeah, exactly. So we all like the feel of the book, the smell of the fresh ink, and also to add to your library. I mean, I think everyone can agree to that we all prefer the physical media. And as much as
everybody
Netflix
loves getting physical.
Yeah. It's that old saying, the difference between a picture of a boob and an actual boob was, well, we know, right? So
I was being a little more ambiguous.
I know. I can't help myself, man. I can't help myself. But yeah, that's another thing that I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start doing going forward, which is why I have the Global Comics active. Which is why I'm going to pursue webcomics going forward, because it's the best way to gain a readership online and then funnel them to get people to back the physical copies when I do crowdfunding. And like I said, I learned a lot from my past experiences crowdfunding. And so this next one that I'm planning out, I think a lot of people will be pleasantly surprised as to what I'm doing with this one. Because it's the culmination of all the mistakes that I've made that I've ironed out, and it's all going to be here in this next campaign. So stay tuned for that, because I will make an announcement soon, hopefully sooner than later. So with that said, with that said, again, thank you guys for showing up and joining us to talk about this subject, because it is important to talk about this, just like any other subject. We shouldn't shy away from it, because if we do want this to continue on, and I'm talking about the comic book industry, be it the mainstream or the indie, we got to make sure we're on our A game all the time, especially if we want to make it in the long run. And so that's where I'm running the marathon, not a sprint. So I'm hoping that the more I run the marathon, the more I can get to the finish line. And that'll be all because of your support because of my actions of fulfilling the campaign on time, letting you guys know the delays, letting you know what's going on with the campaign and the progress of the book that I'm getting to your, trying to get to your doorstep. So thank you guys again for your support. Yeah, like Kyle said, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And we got a lot of good things coming in the pipeline for you. And again, like he says, read comic books.
More
and
comics.
Before we go, I know we do it's worth to pick up, but we just couldn't do it because of time. Absolute Batman, the latest issue, superb. I highly recommend it. Check it out. I know a lot of people they didn't like the Bane design. Yeah, that was unveiled a few months back, and people were like a lot of people were upset about it, but it works, man. It really does. I at the end of the issue, I was telling Kyle, I have not been so excited at the end of an issue in such a long time. It's been a long while that I've been excited. when I got to the end of the issue, I was like, whoa, dude, no, I can't wait for the next one. So kudos to Scott Snyder and Nick DeGrota for this one, because it was a banger. So I highly recommend it if you haven't picked it up.
And we'll be doing a review on it hopefully next week. And so then you can go and check it out for yourself.
All right. Well, with all that said, thank you guys. Have a great weekend. Stay safe out there. We'll see you.
On November 27th, 1997, citizens from a small Midwestern town called Carpenter's Bay were shocked to discover that one of their own brutally massacred his family, as well as ending his own life on Thanksgiving Day. Dubbed the Thanksgiving Day Massacre, this horrendous crime would forever tarnish the good name of this peaceful town. However, underneath this story lies a dark secret. A secret involving a government cover-up to hide the real story of what happened that fateful day. As the old saying goes, truth is stranger than fiction. Asset 13, The Last Thanksgiving, written by Julius Freeman, art by Greg Warrenchak, available on Global Comics. Evil has a new holiday.